Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, and now that July has come to an end, it's time to talk about my 10 favorite albums that came out in July 2025. Now, July didn't have a lot of new releases in the world of metal, rock, and prog, but it did have a handful of really great ones. And on my list today, I've also got some a live recording as well as a re-recording and a couple of EPs. So there's 6 LPs on here, and then I've got some kind of special releases that I've included on my list that I really enjoyed as well. So without further ado, let's jump right in with number 10, which is Styx and their album Circling from Above. Progressive rock with hard rock influences. And I'm putting this one in my very good tier. Styx is an American band, and this is their 18th album. This continues a little bit of a comeback that Styx has been having lately with this and the 2 albums that came before it, where they're getting back to their progressive rock sound. I like it a lot. There's influences from Queen on here. Every song is catchy but interesting. It's not the most progressive thing in the world here, but there's enough instrumental trickiness and atypical song structures, wild vocal harmonies, and odd time signature changes every now and then to keep it interesting. I don't think it's the best album by Styx, but currently it might be my favorite of their newest 3, though maybe that's recency bias. But if you're a fan of classic Styx and you've been ignoring their later material, definitely do yourself a favor and check out Circling from Above by Styx. At number 9, we've got a live release from The Ocean, a band that I love. It's called The Ocean from Nothing, and they are a progressive post-metal band. They've got their atmospheric sludge metal, some metalcore influences as well, mostly progressive post-metal. And this is a live recording. The Ocean's an amazing German band. They did this live recording with Audio Tree. It features them performing 4 of their tracks. Very well done. Very good release to check out if you already love The Ocean. Of course, I prefer their studio versions to these still, so I wouldn't start here if you're new to The Ocean. I would recommend checking out some of their classic albums from even their, maybe not their most recent, but I'd say go with the Phanerozoic 1 and 2 to check out The Ocean if you want to get into them, and then kind of work backwards from there. The newest one is kind of an anomaly for them, where they kind of had a little bit more electronic influence, but I love it as well. Really, The Ocean, they haven't really done anything wrong. Everything they make is amazing. Their earlier stuff's a little rougher on the production, not as amazing in terms of sound quality, but still pretty cool stuff. So if you like progressive post-metal, if you like bands like Cult of Luna, definitely got to check out The Ocean and this live album, The Ocean from Nothing. At number 8, I've got Chiodos and their re-recording of their 2005 album, All's Well That Ends Well. This is a 20th anniversary edition. They completely re-recorded and remastered it. This is post-hardcore emo screamo. I'm also putting this in my very good tier, just like the last 2. And yeah, I don't know why they did this. Probably just for money and to regenerate excitement in this album, and because they're doing a 20th anniversary tour. So the lead vocalist, Craig Owens of Chiodos, will be doing this 20th anniversary tour of All's Well That Ends Well. And there's unfortunately no other original members left in the band. No real members in the band, actually, besides Craig. He's got touring musicians. And I'm not actually sure who played on this re-recording, if it's actually the original band members playing the instruments, or if it's the touring members that Craig's bringing on tour with him. Whoever played it, they did a great job with the performances. All of the instruments are sounding top notch. Vocally, if you want to hear auto-tune pitch perfect vocals of these songs, this is definitely the version to listen to. They really process the vocals and pitch correct them so they sound perfect, which makes it sound cleaner and more polished, but loses some of the charm. I think the vocals going off key in the original at some of the really high parts kind of has some charm in its cringiness, and the pitch perfect vocals on this lose a bit of that charm. On repeat listens, though, the re-recording is growing on me, even though I still prefer the original, even maybe just for nostalgic reasons. But if I ever want to hear these great songs from Chiodos without that rough 2000s production and that unpolished vocal cringe from the 2005 version, I might revisit this again. But for now, I like the original better. The 2005 All's Well That Ends Well version, I like it better. I like how it sounds vocally, guitar-wise, keyboards, bass, and drums more, even though it's technically worse and less perfect production. The original I've got in a near masterpiece tier, but since this one is kind of not really essential, didn't really need to happen, I have a hard time giving it any more than a very good. At number 7, I've got an EP by the band Syncopia called Phase 2. This is progressive metalcore. Check out the track Pearly Gates for a preview of this. They're a German band. I never heard anything by Syncopia before, but checked out the track Call of the Sea on Bandcamp, and that made me check out the whole album. Great catchy female vocals, clean vocals. The choruses have clean vocals usually, and then the intense, harsh vocals during the other sections of the song. Great guitar riffs and energy, and the whole EP is excellent. If you're a fan of bands like Red Handed Denial, Spirit Box, Sordid Pink, Novelists, other metalcore bands like that are a bit more progressive and genty and technical, but have great, catchy, clean female vocal hooks, this will be a great band for you to check out. That's Syncopia with Phase 2. And that one is in my excellent tier. At number 6, I've got Ambient Den with their debut self-titled album. This is progressive art rock with pop and space rock influences. And also in my excellent tier. This band, Ambient Den, features Ben Craven, Tim Bennetts, and Dean Povey. The name of the band is an anagram of all their first names. The first stuff I heard from it was the single edits of For All Mankind and Earthrise and Terraforming and Future History Part 2. I enjoyed all of those tracks, so that made me check out this album. The other reason that I checked out this album is, and the reason why I checked out the singles in the first place, is I really enjoy Ben Craven's solo music, in particular his album Monsters from the Id. I'm not as familiar with the other guys in the band, but I checked this out because of Ben Craven's involvement and the strength of the early singles, and it did not disappoint. Very interesting album that has a lot of good variety, some songs that are very catchy and accessible, some that are a bit more progressive and odd with some odd time signatures and interesting song structures and technical playing, but it's all very accessible and easy to listen to, with a nice blend of kind of classic old school sounds as well as modern sounds. That sounds good. Check out Ambient Den and their self-titled debut album. At number 5, I've got Sheev and their album Eight's Alchemist. This is progressive stoner metal with progressive rock and sludge metal influences, and I'm putting this in my excellent tier as well. Check out the track Henry for a preview of this one. Sheev is a German band, and this is their second album. They're a band I never heard of before either, but I checked out Martif at one of the tracks ahead of time. That one's great. And one of the riffs in the track Henry actually reminds me of Laid to Rest by Lamb of God. But I love Laid to Rest, so that makes Henry one of my favorite tracks on this album at the moment. Guitars on this album sound like a mix of Tool, Mastodon, Soundgarden, and Lamb of God all kind of mixed together. I like that there's a bit of an old school 90s and early 2000s sound to the guitars. And I think it's a really cool album. So check out Sheev with Eight's Alchemist. At number 4, I've got Impureza by the band's Impureza, and the album is Alcazares. This is progressive technical death metal with flamenco and Spanish folk music influences. Also got this in my excellent tier. Check out the track Pestilencia for a preview. Now, while they have their Spanish influence and flamenco influence, they're actually a French band, and this is their third album. They combine the flamenco sound with just crushing and technical death metal, mostly harsh vocals, but they have great clean vocal hooks as well on the album that are really well done and catchy. If you're a fan of Orphan Land, I think you might like this because, like how Orphan Land combines the Middle Eastern folk into their death metal, these guys do the same with the flamenco and the Spanish folk into their death metal in a very similar way. They're a bit more technical than Orphan Land, and they have some really tricky sounding guitar parts in particular. If that sounds good to you, check out Alcazares by Impureza. At number 3, I've got an EP by the band Darko called Canvas. And this is the UK band called Darko, not to be confused with the US band that's more deathcore, I think. This UK band called Darko is technical melodic hardcore, kind of melodic hardcore punk with metalcore and progressive metal influences. Check out the track Override as a preview here. I like pretty much everything this band's done. Their 2024 EP, Grayscale, was very good, so I was looking forward to this. Definitely check out Darko if you like technical music inspired by punk rock. If you like artists like Propagandhi, Protest Hero, Choke, A Wilhelm Scream, it sounds a bit like those bands. It's essentially progressive hardcore punk, which is a sound that I really enjoy. They've got really fast guitars, great guitar leads going throughout their songs that are really fun to listen to. Great vocal energy, vocals that kind of remind me of Rhodey Walker from Protest the Hero at the clean parts. Really cool. That's Canvas by Darko. Check it out. Number 2, I've got Philosophobia with The Constant Void. Now, this one I'm putting in my near masterpiece tier, so I've got 2 near masterpieces in July 2025, and one of them's Philosophobia, Constant Void. Check out the track King of Fools as a preview here. Philosophobia is a multinational band. They have members from Germany, the Netherlands, and Greece, and this is their second album. And while I hadn't heard their debut before I heard this, I did go back immediately and check it out after listening to this because I love this so much. I initially heard the single King of Fools. That's a great one. If you're a fan of Dream Theater and Pain of Salvation, definitely check out Philosophobia. The album has just a lot of great guitar shredding on it, very well done vocals, and it ends with an over 20-minute prog epic called The Forgotten Part 2. So I think that's something that every prog metal fan can enjoy. So check out The Constant Void by Philosophobia if you enjoy prog metal music. And my number 1 album of July 2025 is by Scardust, and it's called Souls. This is symphonic progressive metal with power metal and neoclassical influences. And also in my near masterpiece tier, check out Touch of Life Part 3, King of Insanity, for a preview of this. Scardust is from Israel, and this is their third album. They're a band that I never heard until this album, but again, immediately upon hearing this, I went back and checked out their back catalog. The first track I heard was Dazzling Darkness ahead of time. I enjoyed it, though it's I think it might be one of the weaker and more simplistic tracks on the album for me after hearing the whole album, but it's still a great track, really strong female vocals. In fact, the whole album has amazing vocals. That's probably the highlight of this album. Some parts are really mind-blowingly difficult vocal lines that are executed flawlessly. Mostly clean vocals, sometimes very high-pitched, very operatic. A few moments of harsh vocals as well. And they're all done by the same woman who does the cleans and the harshes, I believe. Noah Grumman. Just amazing to hear one woman do such a variety of vocal techniques and range from high to low to growl to opera to metal, heavy metal. Really cool that she can do all that. And there's 2 tracks on here that feature guest vocal performances from Ross Jennings of Haken. And he's great as always. Always love him. He's doing lots of guest appearances, and pretty much everything he guests on is great, and he always performs really well. And some of my favorite tracks on here are Searing Echoes. That's an awesome song. I love the violin feature from Ali Storch. Then I also love the Touch of Life suite of 3 tracks that closes the album. That's a mind-blowing suite. Part 1 and 3 of that feature Ross Jennings. So if that sounds good to you, check out Souls by Scardust, my #1 album of July 2025. And it grew on me. I originally put it in my excellent tier, but I've decided to put it up to my near masterpiece tier because I'm liking it more and more as I listen to it. And that's it for my top 10 of July 2025. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. And what are your favorite albums of July 2025? Let me know in case I missed anything. My next video here is going to be probably a album release radar for August. So I'll talk about what albums I'll be listening to that are coming out in August 2025 and kind of give my quick expectations on them. Then I'm not sure what I'll do next, although it'll probably be giving my first impressions on some of those albums that are coming out soon. So some of the ones that are coming out on August 1st are from Atreyu, Car Bomb, Oni, Discipline, Fit for a King, and KO Dot. So I can tell you that I'll probably be giving my first impressions on all of those very soon. So if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you've come to the right place. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to stay in the loop on when I post new videos. And stay tuned for next time. Peace out.